I used to think silence meant peace. In my house, it just meant I wasn't worth the noise. Dinner was always the same 4 plates, 3 voices. Mom talking about work, Dad complaining about bills, Ryan cracking jokes that made them laugh. I'd sit at the edge of the table, chewing slower, waiting for someone to notice I was there. Most nights, they didn't. That evening, Mom glanced up from her glass and said, "Liam, can you pass the salt I did?" She didn't say thank you. She turned right back to Ryan. Ryan had just come back from another failed job interview. You'd think that would dampen the mood, but no, it's just the market, Dad said. "You'll find something soon," Mom added. "You're smart. You just need the right opportunity." I forced a smile. He's had 5 right opportunities. Dad's eyes flicked toward me. "Watch your tone." The room fell silent. Ryan grinned like he'd won something. "I'm just saying," I muttered. "Some people work harder for less." Mom sighed. "Liam, not everything is about work. Ryan's been under a lot of pressure." I looked down at my plate. The meatloaf was cold. "We're all under pressure." "Mom, enough," Dad snapped. "Not tonight." That was how it always went. Every line drawn against me. Every boundary protecting him. Ryan didn't even have to defend himself. They did it for him. I learned early that in this family, effort didn't matter. Presentation did. After dinner, I started clearing plates. Ryan leaned back in his chair, scrolling through his phone. "You gonna help?" I asked. He looked up lazily. "You're already doing it. Why mess with the system I set a plate down a little harder than I meant to?" He smirked. "You're uptight, man. Relax." Dad walked by, half hearing. "Liam, don't start something. Start what I asked. He's the one enough." Dad's tone shut the air down. "You always take things too far." That line, "too far," was his favorite. It meant stop existing loudly. So I went quiet again, washed the dishes, wiped the counters. The same routine, the same silence. When I finally sat in my room, I stared at the ceiling fan turning above me. The rhythm of it filled the space that family didn't. I thought about the paycheck from the hardware store I'd cashed earlier, the night classes I was paying for myself, the future I was building that no one cared to ask about. Downstairs, laughter started again. Ryan's voice carried over the hum of the television. Dad's booming laugh followed. Mom chimed in softly. It was like they'd resumed a show I'd never been cast in. I told myself it didn't matter. That peace meant being left alone. But as I lay there listening to their laughter, I realized silence wasn't peace. It was erasure slow, polite, and complete. At home, everything revolved around Ryan. The house itself seemed to tilt toward him, his laughter echoing down the hall. His shoes left wherever he dropped them. His mistakes explained away before anyone could name them. That Saturday morning, Dad was helping him polish his resume. I passed by the dining room on my way to the kitchen. Dad said, "We just need to reword a few things. Team leadership sounds better than assistant." Ryan grinned. "Yeah, makes it look like I actually led something." They both laughed. Mom was brewing coffee, humming. "He just needs a little push," she told me. "He's had a few pushes," I said quietly. She shot me a look. "Don't start." I poured myself water, standing at the counter while Ryan scrolled on his phone. He didn't even look up. "You're working today?" "Yeah, double shift. Brutal," he said, still scrolling. "Dad said I shouldn't settle for jobs like that. It's not my path." I smiled tightly. "Guess we don't have the same map." Dad looked up from the table. "Ryan's figuring things out. He's got options. You could learn a thing or two from him." Like what I asked. Dad didn't hesitate. Confidence. The word stung more than it should have. I'd been the one covering late fees, helping with groceries, fixing the leaking sink he refused to call a plumber for, but confidence. Apparently, was worth more than contribution. Ryan stretched, yawning. Man, I might go downtown later. Some friends are hitting a bar. You should come. Liam, oh wait, you've got work. He said it like a punchline. Mom chuckled softly. He's just teasing. I nodded. Yeah, hilarious. She handed Ryan her credit card. Don't overdo it, she warned, but her voice was sweet. When I glanced at her, she stiffened. Don't look at me like that. You both get what you need. I bit my tongue. The conversation moved on without me. As always, I finished my drink and grabbed my jacket. Mom called out, "Pick up milk on your way home." Ryan laughed. See, you do have a purpose. No one stopped him. No one even frowned. I walked out before the silence swallowed me again. By the time I got off my evening shift at Harrison Hardware, my hands smelled like steel and dust. It was almost 10 when I unlocked the front door. The house was quiet except for the TV murmuring from the living room. Ryan was sprawled on the couch, game controller in one hand, a half-eaten plate of pasta on the coffee table. My backpack lay open on the floor, my notes scattered like trash. I stopped. What the hell? Ryan. He didn't look up. Relax, man. Needed paper. Took some. I knelt, flipping through the torn pages. The accounting notes I'd spent hours on were gone. You ripped them out. Calm down. They're just notes. I stared at him. You don't get to decide what matters to me. He smirked, eyes still on the screen. You act like you're some genius. It's not that deep. I gathered the papers, my throat tight. Where are they? He shrugged. Probably in the trash. Chill out. Something inside me cracked, quiet but final. I stood there, watching him laugh at his game, and realized nothing I said had ever reached him. Footsteps approached behind me. Mom and Dad came in, coats still on, laughing about something that died the second they saw me. Mom's voice sharpened. What's with the attitude I held up the torn notebook? Ask him. Ryan finally paused the game. God, you're so dramatic. Dad frowned. What happened? He tore out my class notes, just threw them away. Mom waved a hand. It's paper. Liam, don't start. I looked between them. You're serious. Ryan leaned back. Yeah, it's just paper. Not like you're curing cancer. My jaw clenched. Right. Of course. I turned toward the stairs, but Dad's voice stopped me. That attitude this right here is why people don't want to be around you. The air left my chest. What Mom sighed. You overreact to everything. You twist things to make yourself a victim. Ryan snorted. He loves being the problem. I looked at their faces. Dad's irritation. Mom's exhaustion. Ryan's grin, and felt something cold settle in my bones. I'm the problem, I said quietly. All I do is work, pay bills, stay out of the way. Dad folded his arms. You think we owe you applause for that? I think you could at least see me, I said. Ryan laughed under his breath. No one wants you here. Man, you make everything miserable. Mom didn't speak. Dad didn't deny it. Their silence was the final answer. I nodded slowly. Got it. Dad's voice followed, half angry, half tired. Don't walk away while we're talking. I didn't stop. Upstairs, I pulled out my duffel bag, shoved in clothes, shoes, the only things that were mine. My hands were steady. I folded my work shirts carefully, slid my wallet into my back pocket, zipped the bag. Before leaving, I tore a yellow sticky note from my desk, wrote 6 words, and stuck it on the fridge downstairs. You won't notice I'm gone. You never did. The key hit the counter with a dull sound. Ryan didn't look up from his game. When I stepped into the cold, I expected anger or regret. What I felt was nothing. Only the quiet, wide enough to breathe in for the first time. Marcus didn't ask questions when I showed up at his apartment door with a duffel bag slung over my shoulder. He just stepped aside and said, "Couch is clean. Heat's spotty, but it works." I nodded, dropped my bag, and sat down. The place smelled faintly of coffee and sawdust from his carpentry job. For the first time in years, I didn't have to brace myself for someone's tone. "You want something to eat?" he asked. "I'm fine." He didn't push, just handed me a blanket and turned on the old space heater. We sat there in easy silence, the kind I'd never known could exist between two people. "Eventually," he said, "you quitting that house for good. Guess so. About time." He said it like he'd known all along what I couldn't admit. Later, when the room had gone dim, I checked my phone. 15 missed calls. Mom, Dad, even Ryan. The notifications stacked one after another like an alarm I didn't want to hear. Mom's text came first. "Come home. You're being childish." Then, Dad. "Enough of this nonsense. You need to grow up." I stared at the screen until the light dimmed and the phone locked itself. Marcus glanced over. "You gonna call them back?" "No," I said. "They'll figure it out." He shrugged. "People like that only figure things out when it costs them." I didn't reply. I just lay back on the couch, the blanket rough against my hands, the hum of the heater steady and low. The quiet didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned. When my phone buzzed again, I almost ignored it. But the message preview froze me mid-breath. From Mom. "Come home now. We have a serious problem." The words didn't sound like her. There was no scolding, no control, just panic. Marcus saw my face change. "What's wrong?" I handed him the phone. He read it, then looked at me. "You gonna go?" I leaned my head back against the wall. Not yet. For the first time, they wanted something from me. And for the first time, I wasn't in a hurry to give it. I stared at Mom's message for a full minute before typing back 2 words. "What happened?" The reply came almost instantly. "Ryan's been arrested." For a moment, I thought it was a tricksome ploy to make me come home, but another message followed. "It's serious. Please. Liam, we need you." Marcus leaned over the back of the couch, arrested for what I scrolled through. "Doesn't say?" He whistled softly. "Whatever it is, they wouldn't be texting you if it was small." I grabbed my jacket. "Can I borrow your car? You sure you want to see them? I just want to know what they broke this time." The drive to my parents' house felt shorter than it should have. The porch light was on, but the house looked smaller, like it had shrunk without the weight of my silence holding it up. Dad was pacing on the porch when I pulled up, phone pressed to his ear. He hung up the second he saw me. "Where the hell have you been?" he barked. I shut the car door calmly. "Not here." "Isn't that what you wanted?" He flinched, then straightened. "This isn't the time." Inside, Mom sat at the table, head in her hands. Her voice cracked. "It's Ryan. He did something stupid." I crossed my arms. Define stupid. Dad rubbed his temples. "He stole money. From one of my old clients. $40,000. I blinked. "And how does that involve me?" "He used your name," Mom said quietly. "The account was opened under your ID from when you worked for Dad's company that summer. They traced it back." I laughed once, sharp. "So he committed fraud using my identity." Dad snapped. "This isn't funny." "No," I said. "It's poetic." Mom reached for my arm. "Please, Liam. He's in holding. They're saying bail could be $20,000. We can cover some, but you need me to pay the rest." Her hand trembled. "We just need help. You're the only one who can fix this." I stared at her, at the same woman who once told me I made everything harder. "I'm the only one who can fix it," I repeated, almost to myself. Dad's tone hardened. "You think this is the time to hold grudges? He's your brother, and I was your son," I said. That didn't seem to matter yesterday. He stepped closer, voice rising. "This isn't about you exactly," I said softly. It never was. The room fell silent except for Mom's quiet sobs. I turned toward the door. Dad's voice followed, desperate now. Please, Liam, help us. We're family. I paused on the threshold, the cold air from outside hitting my face. Family, I said. Funny word, isn't it? Then I walked out, leaving them to sit in the silence they had built long before tonight. Marcus poured coffee into a chipped mug and slid it toward me. They text again. I nodded. The screen glowed with a stack of messages. From Mom. Please, we cannot do this without you. From Dad be at the house by noon. We have to decide now. From an unknown number. This is Officer Delgado. Your parents gave us your contact. Your brother listed you as the only person authorized to speak for the account. Marcus whistled. They finally put your name to use the right way. I stood. I'll go. Not for them. For the facts. Take my keys, he said, and take your backbone with you. The house door was unlocked when I arrived. Mom sat at the table with a legal pad and a box of tissues. Dad paced. He stopped when he saw me, as if he'd planned a speech and forgot it. You came, he said. I came to hear the truth. I answered. Mom pushed the legal pad toward me. They say Ryan funneled $40,000 out of a client escrow into an account in your name. He used your old documents from when you worked for Dad. It looks like you authorized it unless you contest. I read the scribbled notes. Did he admit it? Dad rubbed his jaw. He said he was going to pay it back. He said he was desperate. Where is he now, Cook County? Dad said. They set bail at $20,000. I looked up. You called me because you cannot pay it. Mom's voice shook. We have a few thousand. Not enough. And they want you at the hearing to confirm you didn't open that account. I pulled the chair out and sat, not because I was staying, but because I didn't plan to be pushed. Say what you need. Dad planted both hands on the table. Help us. Help your brother. I kept my tone even. Yesterday you told me I was not wanted in this house. His mouth tightened. I said your attitude. You said no one wanted me here. I replied. You let him say it. You agreed. Mom reached for my sleeve. We were upset. We were foolish. You were honest, I said. That is the difference. A phone rang on the counter. Mom snatched it. It is him. She put it on speaker. Ryan's voice came thin through the static. Is he there? I am. I said. Liam. Man, listen, this is a misunderstanding. Ryan said quickly. I just moved some funds to cover something and I was going to put it back. You know I would. You moved $40,000, I said, into a fake account with my name. It was temporary, he insisted. You are good with numbers. You get it. I do, I said. I understand theft. He clicked his tongue. So you are just going to moralize and leave me here. You are my brother. I looked at the phone, a small black square holding years of excuses. I was your brother last night. Silence. Then he tried a new angle. They will ruin Dad's reputation. They will drag our name. You want that Dad jumped in, forgetting the call was on speaker. Liam, do not make this worse. I shifted my gaze to him. I am not the one who made it. Ryan's voice sharpened. If you do not help, you are the reason I rot. You are there because you put yourself there. I said, you needed a name and chose mine. That is not an accident. That is contempt. He breathed hard into the line. You always thought you were better than me. No, I said. I thought you could be better than this. Enough. Dad cut in. Ryan, hang up. We will handle it. The line went dead. Mom pressed the tissue to her eyes. We will pay you back. Every dollar. We will put it in writing. Just help him get out. I leaned back. You think this is about money? What else would it be about? Dad asked. I held his stare. Respect. He barked a laugh that had no humor in it. Respect does not get your brother home. It keeps sons from stealing their brothers' names, I said. He paced again, fists opening and closing. You want us to beg? Is that it? You want us on our knees? I want the truth, said out loud. I answered, not whispered when it is convenient. Mom's voice thinned. What truth that you made me invisible, I said. That you let him take, and you called my protest an attitude. That you told me I was not wanted. She stared at the table as if the wood grain might rescue her. We did not mean it. You meant it until you needed me, I said. Dad slammed his palm down. Stop circling. Name your terms. I let the quiet sit long enough to feel the weight shift. You want me to show up in court. You want me to speak to the officer. You want me to consider the bail. There is one condition. Mom's head snapped up. Anything. You will post a public apology in the family group chat, I said. You will write every word you have refused to say to my face. You will acknowledge the favoritism. You will acknowledge the sentence you let him say for years. You will thank me for considering help. Dad's nostrils flared. That is humiliation. That is language, I said. You can afford it. He looked at Mom. She looked at her hands. The room felt like a balance finally finding level. Dad spoke first, voice flat. We will do it. Mom nodded once. We will do it today. I stood. Send it when it is done. Dad's jaw worked. And the money I said I would consider the bail. I replied, I will be at the hearing to clear my name. After that, we will see. Mom's lips trembled. Thank you. I picked up my keys. Do not thank me yet. At the door, Dad called after me, softer than I had ever heard him. Liam. I turned. He swallowed. You are wanted here. I held his eyes, measured the sentence, and left without answering. The hallway air felt cleaner than any room I had ever stood in. By the next morning, the house chat was full of half-written drafts. Mom kept texting new versions like she was rehearsing for Mercy. Is this enough? Should I say more? I didn't answer. I was drinking coffee at Marcus's table when my phone buzzed again. Dad, we've written the statement. You'll get it soon. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You really making them do this? They asked what it would take. I said. I told them the truth. At 10:30, the message came through in the family group chat. We want to acknowledge that we have treated Liam unfairly. We are grateful for his patience and generosity. We regret the words and actions that made him feel unwanted. He is an important part of this family, and we hope he will forgive us for the pain we caused. Then, a second message from Dad followed. We are thankful for his help during this difficult time. I stared at the screen. No one had ever written my name with that kind of humility before. Marcus leaned over. That's your victory speech right there. I smiled faintly and sent back a single thumbs-up emoji. He laughed. That's cold. It's honest, I said. For a few hours, the silence was peaceful. Then the calls started again. Dad first. I let it ring. Mom next. I ignored it. Finally, Ryan. The third ring. I picked up. His voice came tight and bitter. You think this is funny? You humiliated us. You humiliated yourself. I said. You made them beg. I gave you all a choice. I replied. You could have stayed silent. You didn't. He hissed through the line. I'm in here because of you. No. I said evenly. You're in there because you forged my name and stole $40,000. That's not my signature. That's yours. He banged something against the wall. When I get out, I swear stop pretending you're dangerous. I interrupted. You're just desperate. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing hard. You're really not helping me, he said finally. No, you're my brother. I was, I said, until you decided I wasn't worth keeping around. He said nothing for a while. Then quietly, Mom and Dad sold everything for me. Then you should thank them, I said. They finally learned what losing feels like. He let out a laugh that wasn't laughter. You're enjoying this. Not enjoying, I said, understanding. The line went quiet again. I waited until I heard him exhale before speaking. You told me no one wanted me around, I said softly. I'm just giving you what you wanted. Then I hung up. Marcus looked over from the sink. That the brother? Yeah. How's he doing? I set the phone down. Still trying to win a game he already lost. Marcus nodded slowly. So what now? I leaned back, letting the quiet fill the room. Now I let them live with it. Outside, the city noise moved like a low hum through the window. I didn't need to hear their apologies anymore. Their silence said enough. That night, Marcus and I sat at the kitchen table, eating leftover noodles from a carton. The air was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the soft creak of the chair beneath me. Marcus said, So it's over. Yeah, I said. Or maybe it just finally started. He nodded. You sound lighter. I am. I paused. It's strange. I thought I'd feel guilty, but I don't. He raised his cup of coffee. To finally choosing peace. I clinked mine against his. To finally being seen. Even if it's just by myself. My phone buzzed again. Mom's name. I stared at the screen. Then turned it face down on the table. Marcus watched me. You going to answer? No. I smiled faintly. They'll figure out how to live without me. I already did. We ate in silence for a while. The quiet wasn't heavy anymore. It was soft. Earned. When I finished, I stood to leave the table. You ever notice? I said. Some things only break so you can finally see what was holding them together. Marcus grinned. You're starting to sound like a man who's free. I looked out the window. The city lights blurred in the snow. My reflection stared back, calm, certain, whole. For the first time, I said, almost to myself, I don't need them to know who I am. I do. And with that, I let the night be quiet again.